control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. How you guys doing? Did you have a good Monday? It's now behind you, so you can rest easy. The worst has passed. Now you can just relax and enjoy yourself, hopefully. And onward to Tuesday and all the rest of the jazz until we get back to a weekend, right? So, how's everything? I guess we're almost on New Year's Eve. My God. This time is just flying. 2019 is almost gone, ladies and gentlemen. Almost gone. So what's left on your list to get out of the way? That's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. It's like, what do I want to complete before the new decade begins, before 2020 happens? And I don't know. I got a few things that I'm hoping to get done before the end of too long. I don't know. I always have good intentions, but it's always a different thing to actually execute everything you got in your mind. But I'm working on it, and I've got wonderful help in our good friend and normal co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard. I see you're out in the chat there, brother. Good to see you. Welcome to all of you who are out in the chat. Well, thanks for coming in. I see a bunch of you, and the numbers are climbing by the second, so that's a good start. I remember when we used to stream. When we were just starting out, it'd be like 1, 2, 3 people, and it would stay like 3 people for like 5 minutes, and then maybe 4 or 5, and then we were having little celebrations if we got 10. It's like 10 people were watching us tonight. It's kind of fun to look back on it now, but it was a really big deal at the time. It was such a new and novel thing, and to watch how much it's grown this year, I just think it's certainly not setting any records. Now that goes without saying, but I will say that the people that are finding the show are not just passive about it. They seem to be passionate about it. And that to me is exactly the kind of people I want to find the show. I'd rather have 5 passionate people than 1,000 passive people. That number in and of itself means nothing if the people that are finding your show aren't involved, and you guys certainly are, and it really means the world. So thank you to all of you who have in some way or another supported the show, whether just coming on and being present during these streams, or listening to the podcasts, or both, or if you've managed to donate or buy a shirt or sweatshirt or something, or even the brand new Paranormal Portal Paranormal Investigation Journal. This is designed for people that are getting into paranormal investigating. It should help you organize your investigations into a cohesive data set. That's the object. That's what we're hoping to accomplish with this. If you're interested in that, it would definitely go a long way to help out the show. Additionally, Don and I, again, are continuing the sale for the Teespring site. And the link is in the description, so definitely check it out if you're interested in owning your very own Paranormal Portal gear. We are offering, excuse me, I kind of swallowed and inhaled at the same time. That didn't work out so good. We are offering 15% off through, I think it's the 5th or the 8th. I don't remember what we said, but the first full 7-day week of January. So there's an opportunity there for those of you who are interested. to save some money, 15% off if at checkout you enter the coupon code PORTAL, all capital letters, PORTAL 2020. And that should save you 15% on your per purchase. So, we hope you guys will take advantage of it. It's just a small way to say thank you to all of you who are helping to promote and perpetuate the Paranormal Portal. So we got a great show hopefully lined up for you tonight. I hope to keep you wildly entertained, but even marginally entertained would be good. So I hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are underway once again here on the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I've got to get some of these things pulled up so that I can keep you entertained. Let's get after it. Again, Chris Cuomo, CNN, his tagline, let's get after it. It still cracks me up. Even a day later, it still cracks me up. So the first story tonight's coming out of Pennsylvania. And me too, Nessie. How weird. What's going on out there? What's weird going on out there? I don't know. I don't know what you guys are weird about. Now I'm interested, though. Oh, Rosie, I totally read that in a British accent. Oh. Oh, well. That's cool. I love me some accents. Put us to bed, Brent. Well, why don't you get all tucked in? We'll do all AMSR on this. Why don't you lean back? Get really comfortable, okay? I'm going to read you a story. No, we're not going to do AMSR. I don't even know for sure what that stands for. I just think it's a funny thing. It comes from Pennsylvania. It says, when I was young, my best friend lived in a house in Shillington, right down the road from me. And he's been my best friend ever since we were 3 years old. Since that time, his house is always creepy to me, but I'll tell you exactly why. Countless nights when I would sleep over, he would fall asleep downstairs, and about 2 a.m., I would start seeing what appeared to be an elderly lady walking back and forth in the hallway in front of the door. I would wake him up, and I'd show him, but it would be gone. I remember when we were both up watching TV in the living room, and the door to the second floor started to rapidly shake, and we'd look at it, and it would stop. And as soon as we would look away, it would start again, and that would continue for about 3 minutes. This one's almost unbelievable. When we were sleeping, he woke up in a dark room, and since his room was right above the steps, and there were no doors to divide it from the open steps, this was very visible. He woke up and seen someone who looked almost torn apart from what he described. The thing put its arm through the railing on the steps and said, "Hey, kid, come here." He screamed, and the thing jetted down the steps, and he heard a loud bang as if someone smashed into the table downstairs. And he wasn't the only one who heard this, because his brother opened the door and ran downstairs after it. And when he got down there, nobody was there, and all the doors were locked. Now, the next house is the one I live in now. It's in Exeter, Pennsylvania, and I have a few things to tell you. My mom left us this one winter, and it seems like the ghosts are triggered by sadness, because when she left, countless things started happening to us. Dad and I were playing, Dad and I, maybe my dad is what they meant. My dad and I were playing guitar in the basement, and we heard a baby crying upstairs loud enough to make us stop playing and listen. My dad heard a little boy talking also when he was sleeping, and woke up to it thinking it was me and my brother, only to realize it was 2 a.m. and everyone was asleep. One day I was messing around with my drum sets, and I was on the floor tuning them, and at the top of my eyes, I seen a pair of legs walking towards me. They were very skinny and pale, and I thought it was my brother coming to talk to me, and I looked up, and there was nothing. Now, to the most frightening, I was sleeping one night and woke up out of a deep sleep. I was wide awake, and my TV was all static, and all of a sudden, I heard light footsteps walk over to the TV. The TV turned off, and I heard them scurry back to the closet. I was terrified. Yeah, I don't blame you. And then now for the best one, and this was a couple of nights later, but this time I was alone in the house. Around 2 a.m., I woke up out of a deep sleep to see a man in my doorway. He was pretty solid except for the mid-torso area. It was like smudged out or something. It looked like I seen him, and he looked like a 40-year-old man, kind of wrinkled face. I don't know if 40's so old. And soon as I looked, he stepped sideways into the hallway. Well, I grabbed my BB gun because I thought for sure someone had broke into our house. Because you would never think if you'd actually see a ghost that up close to you in person like that. Well, that's my story. Tell me what you think. I'd like to hear from you and talk about your experiences too. Thanks for reading. That's a lot of stuff. Again, here's the situation, ladies and gentlemen, where it's a lot of different activity. There's not a lot of congruence to any of it. And so if ever there was a situation where I would think potentially there's a portal or something else nearby, this would be one of them, because normally in haunts, it's kind of one person or one activity that continually happens, like there's a presence or maybe there's a couple presences. But this is a whole disparate catalog of different things going on. And it seems to me that there may be a portal nearby. And if not in the house, then around the house somewhere. And things are just kind of wandering through. And I think it needs closing. But again, just my 2 cents. I don't know that that's the case for sure. But when hauntings don't have a pattern to them, when they're just this random chain of events with disparate type of apparitions showing up, that's the only thing it can seem to me. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. But who knows? I guess I would bring a psychic in there to have a look, because I don't know. Those kind of stories are tough to nail down, but that's my first impression of a story like that. There's so much different stuff going on. It's not the same entity. It's not even the same few entity. It's these very different entities that seem to have a whole lot of different stuff going on. And I think that that's concerning, I think so. Got a headache. Hold on. Got to take some aspirin. 1 second, please. Here's to my health. And the end of a headache. All right, the next one we're going to cover tonight is from Virginia. We used to have a lady named Virginia that always used to stop in. I wonder whatever happened to her. Hope she's okay out there. Okay. So this one is in 2006. I started dating a guy named Alan. And we were the perfect couple, and he never had any issues. In May 2008, I decided I wanted to work with the Dark Mother, Hecate, or Hecate, or how you pronounce it. It's up to you. I've heard many different pronunciations for that. But I was born and raised Wiccan, so I had a great deal of background in the craft, and I obviously was not ready for such a leap into the unknown, and he was present as I did my ritual. I was his teacher. Soon after I did this ritual, I felt like something was always watching me. When I went to sleep, it seemed like something was inches from my face, staring, and I did a cleansing ritual and felt peaceful, like an attachment was gone. And Alan came to me a few days later and said that he was hearing whispers, and he said he heard a woman say, "Tomorrow." The very next day, he totaled his car and began failing his classes, and he became angry, full of rage all the time, and there was no way he was faking about the whispers. When I laid in his bed at night, I could hear them as well. It always seemed to happen at 3:15-ish a.m. Sometimes I would feel a pressure on my chest, like something was pushing me down. Other people had noticed the change in him as well. I definitely wasn't the only one. His friends had abandoned him because they were afraid of him. He talked about death and pain so much. And when he and his friend David were in the car, he actually tried to run over birds and squirrels that would run into the road before he would stop and wait for however long it took for the animal to pass. Matt said he was scared to death and just never spoke to him again. Alan became very violent. We were fighting more than ever. And one morning before work, he picked me up and threw me against the wall. I was left with a black eye and several bruises. Oh, God. I decided to break up with him. We still talked a little, just hey here and there, but one night at 3 a.m, he called me and he said that he was hearing those voices again. My first reaction was, this man is crazy. My father was a psychologist, so I called him and he said that he saw absolutely no signs of schizophrenia or any other disorders. Anyway, he told me that he woke up with deep cuts going down from his neck to his belly. And I asked him to recite the goddess prayer, Our Mother who art in the Summerland, etc. He physically could not do it. Yeah, it sounds like an oppression or potential possession. His voice started to crack, and I actually heard it change. It got deeper and raspier. I heard something grunting in the background. It was like a pig grunting and screaming. And I was absolutely terrified. I felt like I was going to puke. I felt like I had let him down as a teacher, and when everything went quiet, I asked if he was okay. It just didn't sound like Alan. He sounded different. His voice was deeper and smoother, and he just sounded evil. There's no other way to describe it. As soon as I could see him again, he headed up to my friend Tyler's house. He's had quite a good amount of experience in the occult, so he pulled out several books on the topic, and he came to the conclusion that it was a psychopomp, which is a mediator between the conscious and the unconscious. The specific deity I was working with, Hecate, is a psychopomp, and Tyler made him a juju bag and told him to put it under his pillow before he went to sleep. Alan put the bag under his pillow that night and had a dream. He was standing in a dark room and he could see an outline of a human figure. The figure laughed and told him it would be with him forever, and he heard that same pig grunting, and he and the figure were wrestling, and the thing had pinned him, and he heard a woman's voice saying, just think about the ones you love. And he did. And he said that a bright light appeared and expanded, and everything faded into it. He woke up the next day with bruises on his wrists and cuts everywhere. He walked outside and called me, and he told me what happened, and he said that he thought it was gone, and he said that it was like opening his eyes for the first time again, and the sun was so bright, and the birds have never sung better songs. Alan said it was like a weight had been lifted off his entire body. It was a terrifying experience for both of us, and we were not back together, but we're still best friends. I've left the path of Wicca because I feel like it was a warning for me. The occult is not something to fear and shun, but before one attempts anything, they should really make sure they're aware of the things that can occur. Yeah, exactly. It's not... These rituals, many of them are old as time. You're definitely treading into waters that if you don't understand, you got no business treading into them. That's absolutely terrifying. And those dark things are so tough to get rid of. I don't know if that was a demon or not, but it was certainly a dark thing. All right, this one's coming from Kentucky, and it's a pretty quick one. It says, I've experienced a few things in my life which I can't explain. I've seen UFOs, I've heard things, etc., but recently around my house, stuff I can't explain has happened. Little signs, but can it mean something? I constantly hear creaking. Every single time I'm watching ghost stories or reading this website, the back of my head gets cold and it feels like there's a breeze there. And I'm very interested in UFO studies. I watch videos on UFOs and unexplained things, and when I go to bed at night, I see shadows running across my room and no one is there. I feel uncomfortable in my room, and every now and then I could have sworn I hear voices. Usually if I pray, it goes away, and I see things in the corner of my eyes and look up and there's nothing there. Sometimes when I have running water, I feel like I hear something. Like when I run up the stairs, I feel like I'm being chased. My friend used to have an imp, a miniature demon, in his house, so they had to move. Do you think this could mean something? I'm curious to know. When I began writing the story, my ear twitched, and outside it got pretty windy all of a sudden. I'm starting to get curious. I don't know if it's anything for sure. Most likely it's just my imagination. And the season is starting to change. I don't know how you know you have an imp. It's like, how do you know it's an imp for sure? I mean, you can believe you had an imp. You can suspect you have an imp, but how do you know something like that so conclusively? I would love to know what their determining factors that were. Do I believe there's imps? Yeah, I do. I believe that they can be forerunners to actual demons. They are usually these little manifestations. I don't know if they're conscious on their own or if they're just an extension of the demonic consciousness, but I think that they can go out and look for vulnerable people. I think that can happen quite a bit, but again, it's as with anything else, you can certainly safeguard yourself against things like that by whatever faith you follow. Just make sure it means something to you. Just my 2 cents. But yeah, that's very interesting. I've never heard somebody say, well, my friend had an imp in their house and they had to move. How do you know? That's interesting. But the demonic oppression is terrible. Demonic possession is horrible, horrible. But a demonic infestation is really a bad kind of haunting. And if you believe you have imps in your house, then that can be the forerunner to a demonic infestation. It's pretty well documented in the paranormal that people have experienced what they believe to be imps. These little small black shadowy things that kind of shoot around. They don't look big enough to have been a person, but they look kind of humanoid in a sense, but very creature-ish. And they can be the forerunner, or perhaps they are the mechanism by which a demon fully enters this vibration or this realm. I don't know, but it does seem to be a precursor for a demonic experience or infestation. So, and if you got an infestation, it's only a time before you got oppression and possession. Now, interestingly enough, the story we just read dealing with the Wicca, that sounds like a really good explanation of what demonic oppression would be like, or at least some kind of dark spiritual oppression. I can't say for sure that a demon was at the source, but the idea behind dark things like that is to separate you. It's like any other abusive relationship. Abusers want to separate people from the things that give them strength. And the same is true for dark things as well. I think that they work to separate people from the things that help them stand, for the things that make them stronger and feel positive emotions and love. And they will work to separate people from those, from each other. And in order to isolate, and once a person is isolated, then you got the voices and you got the dark cloud, that horrible mood that never lifts. There's nothing you can do. It's just always there. It feels just, I imagine it feels like standing in a cloud of rain and just having it follow you everywhere. Everyone else seems to be in sunshine, but you got this one lone rain cloud above you. And that's what an oppression is like. And it's hard to stand up with that constant barrage of negativity. It's the thing with any of these types of situations. Spirits have nothing but time, and especially demonic things. They got nothing but time. They could wait a decade for you if they feel that that's worth it. So it's really important to, when you banish them, to banish them completely out of your life, out of your thoughts, out of your realm, and try to banish them, if possible, back to where they came from. It's best to remove them from this plane, not just kick them out of your house, because if they're kicked out of your house, they're going to be pissed, and they're always going to be probably looking for a way back, because that's a true affront to them, I think. But I think that other people then are at risk. So if there's anybody gifted in banishing exorcisms like that, you should definitely get in touch with them, because you don't want these things just out of your house and wandering down the street and, going to your neighbor's house or something else, So just my 2 cents. I don't like to focus a lot on that kind of stuff, but I do think it's important, since we deal with the paranormal, to discuss the darkness as well. All right, let's go to the next one. Did I read this? Oh, yeah. I just read it. Excuse me. Excuse me while I clear my pipes. This one's coming from my old stomping grounds. This is Minnesota. Minnesota's coming up on the list here. It's called the Whistler 2. Huh. I wonder if there's a Whistler 1 we're going to hear about. All right, so the first encounters of this Whistler happened the previous year in spring of '07. My wife was involved with the first visit from the ghostly visitor. She was on the couch quietly trying to take a nap after work, and I, her husband, was down in my basement office, and our son was in the basement bedroom playing his games. Presumably the daughter was in her room watching television. My wife was resting peacefully, but not quite asleep, when she felt a jolting tug on her shirt collar, and without moving or opening her eyes, she assumed it was our daughter taunting her, as she usually did, and asked out loud, "What do you want?" Well, there was no reply, and she ignored the moment, and the second tug occurred on the same spot of her collar. Again, motionless, she asked, what is it you want?" No reply again. And then a third tug, and suddenly startled her to open her eyes and look behind her to find no one there. She was very shocked to feel a presence, but found no one in sight, and so she got up in a hurry from fright and walked to her daughter's room to find her fast asleep, and she then raced downstairs to see me, and by the look on her face, I knew she was startled by something. That was the beginning. From that point on, we knew we had occurrences and couldn't say they were all on the same visitor, but with this prankish attitude, we think he may be. We believe that there are all kinds of spirits that may pass through everywhere, but this one seems to like us for now, to know of his presences and make us laugh or scare us. And he seems harmless, but for whatever reason, he seems to lie returning her for a visit. I don't know what that means. I think he meant like. He seems to like returning to her for a visit. There were the TV occurrences that happened from time to time, such as changing of the channels and while we were watching, or turning off the TV or turning it on. But there's the karaoke monitor TV, and that one night shook my wife and me up. That night the TV kept falling off the speaker, and no, it was not the vibration while we sing. This has never happened before, and now it did. And the second time, I was watching as we sang, but never seen the TV move, and then in a second, it went over. The monitor still worked, but it spooked my wife too much, and she went to bed. I kept singing for a while, because the show must go on. That's a man who's serious about his karaoke. And was watching up closely to see, and I seen nothing more move from the TV set. With the volume loud and my eyes glued, nothing moved. Then in that very instant, I saw what seemed like an invisible hand that just pushed the set behind and tumbles quickly to the ground. This time it broke the TV and startled me, and I then left the room for the night, and we bought a new set, and from then on, we never had a problem. More to follow soon. Well, I'll be waiting. Maybe you guys just can't sing. What if they're just terrible singers? And the ghost is like, "Oh, hell no." That's just like, man, this is a fresh kind of hell. You can't do this to me. I'm breaking the damn thing. Oh, you never know, ladies and gentlemen. Could be. The phone lines are open. You're right. Moog, it's 720-923-0500. If you want to call in and be a part of the show. I love hearing from you guys. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to open a few more just because I love me some scary stories. Not all of them are scary, but some of them are actually kind of beautiful and nice, but there's certainly a mix. Let me just mute for a second. There we have it. I'll go better. Did Don still here, or is he gone already? I don't know if he's at the mine grinding out a shift, or if he's at home. But I was glad to see him here when we started. That's cool. Good to see my long-bearded brother. Okay, let's go to Nebraska this time, ladies and gentlemen. 57 of you out there. Wow, thank you all for coming in and joining us here on the show. I hope you're enjoying these stories. And if you want to take part, if you got something spooky of your own to share, again, 720-923-0500. The number is also on the screen up where I'm pointing. I'll do a Brady Bunch. Excuse me. I'm old froggy. So we're going to Nebraska this time. It says, I sincerely believe that when tensions are high, we exert a lot of wasted energy. I also believe that the energy exerted can be used by entities, for lack of a better word, to manifest. Tensions and frustrations have been running pretty high at work lately. The economy issues touches us all. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is from 2008, so it kind of bears, the mark of that time. The economy issues touch us all, and my office and clinic are certainly not immune. Recently, we had to scale back our workforce, and unfortunately, this means that some great staff were laid off, and again, adding to the frustrations, tempers, and anxiety of others. The workload did not change, just the number of staff to complete the work did. For example, one person is now doing the work of themselves and 3 others. All of these changes took place last week. Being a member of management, I was responsible for staying and assisting in the processes. Believe me, it was absolutely awful. Everybody needs their job, and I know that, but the decision came from the top, so in order to keep my current position, I had to do as I was told. I stayed late into the evening last week until around 9 p.m. trying to tie up some loose ends, and I was one of the last people to leave the building. At around 8:50 p.m., the lights in the corridor started to turn on and off by themselves. Well, being a large business, this could be wiring, someone messing with the switches, and any number of things, so I decided not to let this bother us too terribly. After the light show, I began to hear voices, and the voices sounded as if they were coming from a group of at least 4 or 5 people, and as if they were down the hall from my office. I left my desk 3 times. The voices came from different areas each time to check and found no one. And I checked all the logins to see who was still on the clock, and no one was upstairs. Okay, this was getting more and more bizarre. Well, I clocked out at 9:03 p.m. and began to log off my computer and shut everything down. And as I was logging off my computer, I saw a dark shape, mostly long and oval, dash past my office door. Again, I investigated, and there was no one on the second floor with me. After seeing the dark oval shape, the temperature in the hallway dropped at least 20 degrees. Well, I decided that I had had enough for one day, and I completed signing off all the networks and grabbed my purse to leave. And just as I was rising from my chair, the office door slammed closed. This is pretty substantial, as there is no doorstop blocking the door from closing, and I sat there for a couple of minutes, simply staring at the door. Once I was sure I could walk out without my knees buckling, I got up and went in search of the doorstop, and it had been moved at least 5 feet from the door. That was enough for me. I called my husband on my cell and engaged conversation with him until I got out of the building and to my car. All other employees had left at this time, so I decided I would take a drive around the building just to reassure myself that it wasn't some other employee's actions causing these bizarre occurrences. As I went around to the front of the building, I noticed in the second floor window, the long oval shape passed by the window fairly quickly. I know I saw it because I was preparing to see a person. Also, I had engaged the security alarms and motion sensors, and there was no one human in the building. I'm not sure what is happening in the building now, but I started my day off with prayers, and I'll keep you posted. Yeah, that's terrifying. It's, I don't know if it's something. The curious part to me is that did they always keep these late hours, or were they only keeping these late hours because of the need to let people go because the economy was so sour. I think that this stuff may have been going on the whole time. They may have had activity, but with nobody around to see it, I guess it's hard to know. But this situation had forced many of them to continue to work long past their normal time, and maybe that's why they were able to notice what was maybe already going on all this time. So I don't know, just some thoughts, but it could be. I don't know. But anyway, sorry, I'm just gonna light some incense. There we go. Because I don't know if that stress would be enough to trigger that activity to begin, or if it was maybe just aggravating something that was already there. That raised anxiety and emotional chaos was maybe supercharging the environment as a possibility. I don't know. Very crazy. This one, it seems to be tonight's going to be kind of about dark and demonic things. Okay, this one is a demon story, potentially. My grandparents are very religious, so this makes this story very scary for those who are also religious. When my dad was younger, he lived with his parents in a house, obviously, but this is no ordinary house. It was built on an Indian burial ground, and a man committed suicide by hanging himself in the front lawn, and they cut down that tree and built an addition over it. Lovely. Now, I have to say, when things like that happen, you really, before you build on a piece of land, I don't know, it's up to the people. I mean, there's a lot of people that will never experience anything spiritual in there, just seem to be oblivious to it. And that's not a statement of dismissal or making fun of them. It's just some people just aren't sensitive in that way. And that's okay. But I think if it was me, I would make sure to always try to, have the land blessed or wherever you're going to build something, have it blessed and have some kind of different ceremonies there, perhaps First Nations, in case it was a First Nation site, and just kind of appease the land, hopefully, because I know the land has memories. There's lots of memories all over this country and all over around the world, of course. So now when my dad was a kid, he had experiences when he was 8 or to about 18. One day when nobody was home, his brother was taking a shower, and he was in the shower, and he heard the front door open, footsteps across the house, and then he saw a shadow under the door walking past the outside into the basement. It was a one-level house, so you had to go outside to go into the basement, and then heard arguing. When he was done, he went outside to see what was going on, and nobody was there, and his other brother, David, was sitting in his room and saw the recliner start to go back. He sat there, and all of a sudden he felt heaviness on his chest and yelled, "Leave!" Well, the pressure was lifted, and whatever was in the room was gone. Now, as for my dad, I have 2 stories. When his girlfriend slept over one night, she woke up and needed to use the bathroom, and so she did, but on the way back to the room, she saw an old lady and an old man standing right in front of the door to get back into my dad's room, but she figured it was his parents, and she was tired, so she let it go and just went back to bed. The next morning, she told my dad about what she had seen, and he told her that that wasn't his parents, because obviously at that time they weren't that old. Now, this is one very creepy and probably one people will say is fake. Well, my dad was sleeping one night, and there was a loud bang, so he woke up as soon as he woke up, he says that what he described as a demon's face hovering over the footboard, and he said it was very bright. It lit up his room, and the only way he could describe the way it looked, he said it had a beast face, and he really doesn't like to talk about it to this day. And some of you may say maybe he's making it up. Well, he isn't the only one who has seen it. My grandmother saw the same thing, and she's a very religious woman, so I take her word for it. But what's very chilling about her story is when she saw it, it said, "I want you." And after that, she had the house blessed. But can that really keep the evil away? No one knows. The house has since been sold, but the neighbors have said that they haven't had any very similar things happen to them, and these are to me very scary. And I heard it right from my dad and my grandparents, and I hope to one day visit that house and ask the new owners if they have had any experiences. I hope to hear from everyone soon about this story. And thanks for reading. Well, thanks for sharing it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, nothing in that story was. Well, I mean, it's paranormal, so it's all kind of way out there. But it's certainly not contrary to thousands of other stories that we've read. So it doesn't seem like incredibly outlandish claims. It sounds like they've got some presences around and probably need to appease some spirits, especially if it was a burial ground. My God, that's a fast track to having all kinds of problems. Just saying, building homes over the graves of the dead is it never works out well. And I'll just, for example, Poltergeist, the movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a dramatization, obviously, but apparently there was some real accounts that were what the movie was based on. So whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. But I certainly have heard hundreds of stories of people whose homes were built on sacred native land, and they would see, terrifying things and have a lot of aggressive stuff happen because these spirits are just pissed, and rightfully so, I suppose. I don't know, but very, very scary stuff for sure. 62 of you here. Wow, wonderful. Thank you all for being here and being a part of the show. I appreciate it. And I have a phone call, so let's see who's calling in tonight. This is area code 408. You're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, Brent?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Yeah, this is our Artist Life. Once again, man.
Oh, welcome to the show again, brother. How's things?
Yeah, everything's pretty cool over here, San Jose, California, man.
Nice. I'm just a little jealous, but...
Yeah, so
anyway.
I got a story for you again.
Oh, perfect. Man, let it roll.
Yeah, it goes back to that old property that I was growing up with, over there on 2025 Leghorn Street in Mountain View, California.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so basically, so one night, I remember, man, going back to the freaking demonic stuff, like this was a possession that happened over here at 2025 Leghorn Street, man. Oof. And currently they're tearing that property down as we speak. That's because good. They're making way for either condos or electronic companies.
Oh.
But anyways, this story goes back to like 2009, 2010 when me and my friends, I won't say any names, of course.
Okay.
But there was like 4 of us, including myself. And oh my God, dude, it was freaking crazy. So I don't know if you remember from like a bunch of episodes before, there was this old building that's right next to us. This big old olive oil company.
Yes.
Called Ambria Olive Oil Company. Do you remember that?
I do, vaguely, yep. I remember you mentioned it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a while ago. But yeah, man. So anyways, me and my buddies were just sitting outside smoking stoves, having a couple drinks and stuff, and we were bringing up paranormal stories,
Mm-hmm.
And me and my friend,
Mm-hmm.
we saw the side of the wall of this building, which is a two-story building, which was built back in 1925, 26.
Okay.
And we see the shadow going one from like left to right and then right to left. And I look at him and we're like this, we're like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we look at our friend, our other friend, and he saw it too, but he's a very religious kind of cat,
Uh-huh.
And he starts praying and stuff, and then out of nowhere, as soon as he starts praying, like my friend, this tall guy that we used to chill with, he was automatically possessed.
Oh.
Like all of a sudden he went like this. He went like that, you know.
Oh man.
And then he looked at me. He looked at me with pale eyes, like I could see like an iris, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all white. Both of his eyes, like milky white, you know, like a translucent, you know, kind of thing in his eyes. And he stared at me and says, "What year is this?" And I'm like, I know this automatically, you know, like all my friends, like they've had experiences at my old house there, but I automatically knew, like, this is the time to ask questions. So I started asking questions because this is a limited window, at least in my mind, you know. And he's like, "What year is this?" And I'm like, "This is 2009, 2010." And he goes like this. Like a breath like that, you know? I'm like, oh my God, this is interesting, you know? Very fascinating. So I keep asking questions. I'm like, "What's your name?" And he says, "My name is Christopher, and I died in the back shed." Remember when I found that 1930s Franklin D. Roosevelt pin?
Yep.
Yeah, that pin that I found in that old back shed beyond my fence line there. And he's like, "Yeah, my name is Christopher, and I died in the shed in the back." And he just did that again, like he was tired, you know, like he was tired of being there, you know.
Right.
So as soon as he said that, the whatever it was that was in him just went, and then he came back like this, and he's like, "Dude, what just happened?" I'm like, "Dude, you just got possessed by something, like, or you were used as a medium, you know, as a middle to communicate with me." And I'm like, "Wow, dude, you know."
That's
he
intense.
has no recollection of what happened.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't even a witness to it. He was just blanked out.
Yeah, like the guy that I'm telling you about was the one that was used as a medium, you know, for this message.
That's intense.
Yeah. I guess his name was Christopher, man, and you know, but
this
property, like I said before, was just there's a lot of messed up stuff that happened there, you know. I mean, from what I heard from the neighbors down the street.
Wow. So were you ever able to authenticate that a Christopher was killed there, or did you not research it?
I did the best that I could, but I could not prove it. You know?
It's tough. I mean, especially in the old days, record keeping was kind of secondary, so it's kind of hard to find a lot of answers sometimes. But I was just curious because that's just incredible, and I wonder if part of what drew him was the fact that you found that pin, and you still have that pin. Did you keep it?
I did. Unfortunately, it was damaged, really bad. Actually, got scrapes at a show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at a punk rock show, metal show around here at local venues.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, that's intense, brother. I'm glad it left right after going in. I'm glad it didn't decide to ride him like a moped for the rest of the night.
No, of course, no, definitely.
Wow, that's
but
intense.
it further proves like the what am I saying here? The entity or whatever it was, you know, this presence that was around this area, you know, of my property, or former property, better said, you know.
Yeah, that's really crazy, brother. Wow, that's intense. That's really intense.
There was. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. No, that was it. I was just that's incredibly intense. I'm just floored.
It just came out of nowhere, man. I mean, like, we're just chilling and stuff, and then me and my friend see these shadows passing back and forth, and just wow, you know.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, and for what it's worth, as long as everybody's okay, I think it's a hell of an experience. But I guess that's got to be kind of concerning because I think what concerns me the most is the idea that it just jumped in. It was like it had no trouble just saying I'm gonna take over this for a while, you know. That's pretty disconcerting.
And also, not to mention having the history that I had in this house with like shadow people and bangs and you know, all that stuff.
Right.
It chose me to talk to because it just out of nowhere it got into him, and then he was like, his focus was in a certain way, like just looking at straight forward, you know. And then he looked at me and he said, he's like, "What year is this?" You know, like he chose me, you know, to communicate.
Well, perhaps because you've been exposed to so much of it yourself that you're probably the best bet for having any kind of communication because I'm sure people that aren't used to it as much, they probably would just lock up and be like, open jawed staring.
I mean, yeah, just like my friend who was, I mean, with respect to his religion, he was, trying to protect himself, of course, but
sure.
He just spoke to me, and I'm like, wow, very interesting. And that's one story of many, of course, that I have about this property, which currently, once again, is being torn down as we speak. Actually,
wow.
So who knows what's going to be built there? I mean, I've saw diagrams and designs, concept art,
Sure. Uh-huh.
of what's going to be there, and it's basically just like any area over here in the Greater Bay Area, which is going to be like a computer company or an office building of that sort. So I wonder,
I wouldn't want to work there.
How that's going to affect people there.
Yeah, unless they do something to that ground. Again, it's the whole idea is that a lot of people think, well, we'll just wipe out what's there and then just put something new up, and that'll make it all okay. And if it has to do with an energetic imprint, it won't matter what new comes there. It's just going to inherit the energy of the land. So that energy has to be, processed and, to keep it from happening again.
Yeah, I actually have one more story if we
sure.
have time for that.
By all means, go ahead.
So it's my cousin Javier. He has his accounts when he used to go to Santa Clara University over here, which is a private university. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, so when they started the university, it was 1855, but it's built on a mission. The missions that we have over here.
Okay. Gotcha.
So he tells, there's two parts of this, but the main one, when he was studying in this basement hall, like a study hall, he was just doing his studying, right? Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, lights start going off, and then he hears a bunch of bangs. Boom, 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 like that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Getting closer and closer to him.
Okay.
The first one was just like a regular bang. He said, "Oh, whatever, someone just slammed the door, whatever."
Sure.
But once it started going, the second, third, and it got closer and closer and closer, he just started freaking out, and so it's very brief, but yeah, he just closed his books and just got the hell out of there, got the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, I think that was a good choice. Such a powerful presence like that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. That's time to get
the hell out. It was a basement study hall, out of all places, but yeah, that's a very old property. I mean, once again, all that was built back, missions, in the 1700s.
Right.
And Santa Clara University, which started at 1855 there.
That's amazing.
So a lot of stuff happened there, for sure. And he would drive right next to the old mission building that's still there. And he claims that he saw a priest at the bell tower right there.
Oh,
an apparition.
Uh-huh.
Right there, just staring at him and that whole area. And then after that, he looked back and it disappeared. So I'm like, wow. So there's a lot of good, interesting stuff that goes on there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, if you want to organize your stories and stuff, get a hold of me. I'd love to have you on as a guest on the podcast, and you can tell them all.
Definitely, man. Yeah, definitely, Brent.
Okay.
Yeah, brother. You and Mr. Don Longbeard.
I like how you said that. That was pretty cool. Yeah. No, I'd love to have you on. It'd be great to put all your stories in one episode. I think that'd be fun. So if you want to do that, reach out to me via email, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and we'll get it sorted.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do, man. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm a very dedicated listener to your show there.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I'm always happy to be on, and not only listen to you and you guys tell these stories, but also everybody else. So
very cool.
It's awesome, man.
Oh,
I'm really happy that you guys are doing this stuff.
oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you being a part of it, and thank you for calling in and sharing your experiences. Yeah, we'll get together and we'll record them on one show for the podcast. I think the podcast listeners will love to hear about all this too.
No doubt, man. Right on, Brent.
All right, brother.
Yeah, I'll let someone else take over. There we go.
Right. All right, man. Have a great night. Thanks.
You have a good night, all right, and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you. Awesome.
All right.
That is cool. It's always great to hear new stories. And we got one more call. This is area code 701. You're on the air.
Like Scooby, it's better to be normal than Paranormal Portal.
Yeah. It is. How you doing, Naysay?
I'm doing as fantastic as the universe will allow, and I had to squeak in a call before the man-made calendar dictates we have to get on a diet.
Oh,
stop doing this or stop doing that. Those New Year resolutions keep going round and round.
All those resolutions. Mm-hmm. See what I did there? How you doing, though? Everything good?
I did see that.
Yeah.
I can always see your bright light in my darkness, brother. I'm doing. I'm buried. I'm buried in snow. We got a bunch of snow up here in northern Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
And I put it out there on the fake book.
Yeah.
And semantics. Some angels showed up and dug my van out.
Very
dug
cool.
my walkways and.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm glad somebody came and helped you out. I had a friend that was driving cross country from Indiana back over here, and he got stuck in Minnesota, as a matter of fact. And it was just him out there. There was apparently a blizzard south of you, and he got stuck. So he had to wait for help to find him, and they did, and so they got him all taken care of. But yeah, I guess it was a nasty storm, huh?
Yeah, you betcha. Up here in the Nordic.
Don't you know? Yeah.
Minneapolis, a little ice and snow.
You betcha.
But anyway, I thought I would share a scary story, a scary experience that I had. And I feel over our 3 years now, Brent, have I been pestering you now for 3 years?
Oh, yeah. We've been friends for about 3 years, for sure. Yep.
Oh, I like how you just waved over my pestering. You're a sweetheart.
Well, I love you.
Anyway, the thing on the Indian school didn't happen. I wasn't selected. I wasn't worthy, but I'll tell you that later.
Okay.
But I'm hoping we can share even more on that. So that's a little teaser for everybody. Okay. But when I used to live in the Twin Cities, after the Gulf War illness debilitated me enough that I needed to use a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. 1 year being part of University of Minnesota and the Native American Students Association, they had a big well-to-do at the Minnesota University agricultural campus in St. Paul. And my modes of transportation was by bus transit, public transit. Mm-hmm. And I probably shouldn't have done it, but I spent many a nights 2-3 o'clock in the morning in a wheelchair downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul, and I was never really worried. Mm-hmm. But so the event happens and everybody's leaving, and I canceled my ride because sometimes I could get ride share through the VA. Uh-huh. And I canceled my ride because I wanted to stay later, and I'm like, I'll just catch the bus because it runs late here.
Okay.
So because of all the time I have to take waiting, and this is when I was able to see also, I always carried books with me. And so I'm in the little shelter, and I don't know how other states have it, but in Minnesota we have these little kind of windbreak shelters, and they used to have heaters in them.
Oh,
but they took the heaters out. When I was a kid, I remembered the heaters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But do you remember those?
Yeah.
Well, you were in a little town.
I was down in a small town world, so I never had bus stops like that.
Right. But yeah, so yeah, us big city kids. But so I'm sitting there in the bus stop in the little shelter area, and I'm reading my book, and it's dark out, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I swear I see. The best way I can describe it is the Terminator when not the Terminator, the other Schwarzenegger, Predator, when he had like that cloaking, and he would show him amongst the trees, and it would do that like somewhat disturbance of the visuals. You know what I'm talking about?
That'd be like a warbling.
So out of the
a warbling to the light. Yep.
Yeah. So I noticed this out of the corner of my eye, and it catches my attention, and I look, and I'm telling myself, did I just see that blur go straight into the street light?
Mm.
And so then I'm like staring at the street light, like trying to focus on it, and I'm like, all right, what the heck? So I like poo-poo it off. So then I'm reading my book again, and then the same thing. And this time I turned right away, and I'm like, something just went into the next light. So it was almost like I couldn't tell if it was hiding behind the light, or in the light, or in front of the light.
Okay.
I couldn't tell.
Oh.
And so then I looked down at my book again, and this time I'm like this time I'm trying to look out of the corner of my eye to watch it. You know, because we're now talking maybe 50 yards.
Wow.
I would say maybe 50 yards away.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it jump because like a street lamp, you know, they're 5-10 yards from each other.
Yeah, I think generally that's probably, probably 10 yards.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So like when it went from the first one to the second one, I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But then the second to the third, I'm like, that was something. That was something. And so I'm like trying to bait it to see if it moved again. But then all of a sudden I just got this, like, you don't want that thing any closer.
Yeah.
That was all of a sudden the intensity that I was feeling. So then I'm like, okay, do I stare directly at the light and it's going to remain right there in the light? Mm-hmm. Because in my head, I'm telling myself, you don't want to see it move if you're looking right at it.
Right.
You know, it's like I would rather it be out of the corner of my eye,
mm-hmm.
and like, you know, witnessing it like that than like actually focusing on it and seeing it move from that light to the next light, or worse, straight at me.
Right.
And so I like started getting freaked out, and I'm like, it's nighttime, nobody's around, the only light is in the shelter and on the street lights. And then all of a sudden, right over the top of the crest of the hill to my left, all of a sudden the big old headlights of Matt Parrott Transit.
Oh, nice.
Or Metropolitan Transit comes up over that.
Whew.
And it pulls up, and it was one of those newer buses, because I remembered how excited I was that they did the tilt, and it was a quick kind of ramping system than the whole thing of like a chairlift.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because I'm thinking, if I'm caught on this chairlift, this thing could come up and over, because now my brain is working full throttle, and I'm freaking myself out. So I'm trying not to act too panicky to the bus driver, but the whole time that I'm getting on the bus, I'm like, okay, come on, open the door, drop the bus, get me on. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. That's absolutely terrifying. And did you ever have an impression of what it could be?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just at the point when I was like looking directly at it and just acknowledging it, that yes, there's something there.
Right. So it went.
And then the minute it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It went right into the light, or was it just on top of the light? I mean, what do you think was going on there?
Well, it when I first saw it, it kind of like I thought, like, you know, when you get a floater in your eye.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you get debris in your eye or something, and it kind of just floats around, and you might see it in the corner eye like an eyelash.
Sure.
Has that ever happened to you before?
Well, I got
You know,
shot.
so I'm,
I got
that's what
shot in my
I
eye.
kind
So
of,
I've been shot in my eye with a BB gun. So I got floaters in my eye all the time. So I know exactly what you mean.
okay, yeah. So like that's what I originally thought, and then you know right away I'm extrapolating what's the possibility it was, and I'm like, okay, did it go into the light? Is it behind the light? You know, what was the distance? You know, because this is, you know, I'm ex-military, and so right away, you know, you kind of go into that, you know, fight and flight, and then you try to rip it apart and extrapolate, you know, all the parameters of it.
Sure.
You know, and so then I'm like judging the distance from me, and you know, and then when I caught it the second time, you know, literally like it was almost like a mad dash from like you know, like playing tag,
Sure.
where one kid would go from one tree to the closer tree and hide behind it, but it was using the actual light of the street lamps.
Huh. Now, what size would you say it was? What size, if you're going to estimate?
I'd say a mid-sized dog.
Okay, so like about a 60-pound dog or 50-pound dog, or right in there.
I'd say maybe 30. Like let's see,
like a beagle or something.
Maybe like a pit bull, like an Irish bulldog.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Gotcha.
You know how they're short and stocky, kind of. Yeah.
Huh.
You know, but it was just like a shimmer.
Right.
It was like a. It wasn't like a. It was luminescence, but it wasn't like sparkly or anything.
Sure.
But it was just like a shift of the light.
Right, like
and
a prismatic
the only
effect.
way that.
Like a prismatic effect.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Right. Well, the only thing that's why I compared it, because when I first saw Predator the first time,
Yep.
that's what it reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
Was like, oh yes, like that.
Wow.
You know, but it in Predator it was more kind of shiny.
Yeah.
You know, if you remember, it was kind of more reflective and kind of, you know, I don't know if they put like any glitter to it or whatever, you know, but it was dull. I remember it wasn't shiny, but it was more dull, and it wasn't like pixelated, but it was something.
Okay.
It was something, and it wasn't until I feel that when I made the whole determination in my brain that is something, that was when I got nervous.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's got something that was basically, you know, stalking you. I mean, that's pretty scary.
Well, you know, this is where we've discussed before about, you know, benevolent, malevolent. You know, there's always a bigger fish, and you know, sometimes a person will break into your home and do you wrong. But why would we think, you know, all entities would not have that same oscillation from one extreme to the other?
Oh, sure.
You know, and you know, but I always say go with your gut feeling.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? It's the one thing you don't want to get wrong. So you're absolutely right.
Well, and no taunting. No taunting. I've made some jokes a couple times in presence of some people about like, oh, if there's such thing as a devil, let him appear, and you know, I would make some sarcasm remarks about what I would do to the devil, you know, and one time somebody came at me and they said, hey, you know, what if?
Yeah.
What if there is such a thing, or you know, and what if at some moment he's around listening, or one of his dominions are around listening and say, hey, you know, so
exactly.
So I'll tip my hat and give the respect of its existence of the entity, if it is, you know, semantics, because I do believe there are some very evil entities that are controlling lesser evil entities.
Sure, I would agree with that.
You know, and
there's a hierarchy. Yeah.
And I hope those warriors of the light like yourself, Brad, continue to shine as brightly as you do next year, because 2020, let's see if Naysay can have a brand new vision for Das New World Order. No.
Jesus. Yeah, not that one. Not that one, sir. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I appreciate your call, brother. It's always good to hear from you.
Thank you again. And Nessie, some energy is propelled in your direction for a quick and immediate recovery. And to all of you in the chat, I love so dearly. Thank you for putting up with my childish behavior at times. I love you all. And 2020, yeah, it's the only challenge I had with 2019. It was an odd year.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about some of the private things going on, and yeah, I mean, I'm just glad it's moving forward. I just really hope that 2020 is truly the culmination of a raise in the vibration now. Like, all of this crap is out of the way. Now maybe we can move forward into a new vibration or focus or awareness or whatever it holds. I don't know what it means, but I just think that we're on an incredibly important journey right now, and I think that, you know, this coming year is going to be especially important. So hopefully I'm right.
Well, this is a definitive statement and a fact. I think that if 2019 is an odd year, then we know for sure that 2020 will be an even year.
Well said, sir. Well, I appreciate you calling, brother. It's always a pleasure, and call in whenever you want. I'll be here waiting for you.
You bet. Okay, Gish Bima de Ziwe Weeman. Toodles.
All right, brother. See ya. I like it when he does the Anishinaabe speech. I think it's so cool. It's so cool because it's just got an ancient vibration to it, you know. It's got an ancient, you know, sounds, and perhaps it's changed through millennia, but in the root there's the same words that were spoken however long ago. Like, I don't know if our English language has been, you know, around that long, or if it's some kind of evolution of languages. I suppose it probably is. I don't know. But like, I think if we went back into ancient Britain and tried to talk, they wouldn't know what the hell we were saying, and nor would we understand what they're saying. I suppose it would be kind of, you know, Shakespearean in a sense, but yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. I hope you guys had a great show, had a great time being here on the portal. It's always my great pleasure and honor to be here with you and to have so many of you here with me. So thank you all so much. Check out the podcasts. If you're not familiar with the podcast, you can find our podcasts on Pandora, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, and so many more. Don and I are always working hard to bring you amazing entertainment there, and most of those are absolutely unique episodes, so there's a lot of new stuff there. If you need more Portal than one episode a day for 7 days a week, then you get 3 more a week on the podcast, and we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe to us there. And if you like what you're hearing on the podcast, head over to iTunes, leave us a great review. That really helps a ton in getting us recommended to other people that are into the paranormal. So it's how those algorithms work, you know. So the more people that leave us positive reviews, the more that, you know, if you hate the show, never mind. If you hate the show, don't bother. So anyway, guys, let's see. Remember the Teespring site. The sale is ongoing through the first full week of January. 15% off on the Teespring site if you use the code PORTAL, PORTAL 2020. The Portal is all capital, so that's your coupon codes. You know, we'd love for you to get some gear of your own, and goes a long way to help us support the show. Again, the Paranormal Investigation Journal is available on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com. The link is in the description for both the Teespring and the Amazon site. Also, if you like the music on the Portal and you want to get copies of your very own, there's a Bandcamp link, brentthomas.bandcamp.com. That's down in the description as well. And there are currently three songs up there. I think there's 3 songs, yeah. But there'll be more coming. So it's something I'm always working on the side burner as well. So, but that's about it for tonight, guys. We love you bunches. Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you've done to help share the news about the Paranormal Portal. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow night for another episode of the Night Terrors. But for now, sweet dreams.